Hello, everyone. This is Ferrante Frazier, and welcome to another show of Natural is F. All right, you're going to learn some natural ways on how to live in such a way where you don't have to suffer these issues that's plaguing our community right now. I want you to stop what you're doing, hit like, share this information where you can share with your family and friends where they can get a idea of what holistic health is as well. Tune in every week at 6 o'clock and share with your friends as much as you possibly can. Share right now, even on Facebook. We want to thank all our listeners for tuning in, all the support that they have been supporting us with. Those who do not know me, I'm pretty sure most of our followers know who I am right now and know about Savannah Natural Health. I'm Ferrante Frazier, a certified holistic practitioner, a natural orthopathic practitioner, doctor. And what we do is teach people more rightful living. We look at disease as being right action, not something wrong that has to be fought. We're not, for the last couple of shows we've been talking about this pandemic that was going on. We've been talking about vaccinations. So we gave our listeners a more practical understanding of what's going on in the world today and how to guard themselves and how to protect themselves from the maltreatment from the medical science that's being put out there today. We're not going to waste any more time on that. If those who haven't paid attention to what we were talking about and continuously want to go down the medical path and suffer the diseases that they're suffering from, by all means, we're going to move on and start just talking about health. We don't practice and talk disease that much longer. We're going to go ahead and just start teaching the condition and the requirements for health. Matter of fact, our topic today is a great topic. It's going to be about shall be your meat. Now, a lot of us don't know what to eat, what is food, and different things of that nature. And we've been told by so many different people of what is food for man. And a lot of us are not knowledgeable about what is food for us. Now, we got animals in nature that, they don't have to read a book or have to be told what it is for them to eat. Matter of fact, back in the days during a lot of the wars, and most of the people were scared to eat. The military was scared to eat while they was over there in Vietnam and Japan and all that stuff when they was in those in those wooded areas and stuff, and they had to eat. The military told their soldiers, watch what the animals eat. If the animals eat it, it's okay for you. So watch the monkeys and different things like that in the wilderness, and you see if they eat it, it can't be poisonous. So here it is. We're going to show you without having to look at the animals too much or look into books and stuff. We're going to make it make sense to you from a left brain thinker who needs facts. We're going to supply you with a bunch of facts of the most ideal diet. And we also going to appeal to the intuitive, the holistic mind person, the right brain thinker, and to supply the proper information to appeal to your senses, to appeal to your higher self. What is the ideal diet for man? So we're going to go to the like I said, to the one who want to deal with scientific facts, and we're going to appeal to the person who just want to look at an overall picture of what is the ideal diet for mankind. But before we start that, I want to share a poem, and all of y'all can Google this poem. It's called The Blind Men and the Elephant. All right, the 6 Men of Indostan, in other words. I want to share this poem with you. It said, it was 6 men of Indostan, to learning much inclined, who went to see the elephant, though all of them were blind, that each by observation might satisfy his mind. The first approached the elephant, and happening to fall against his broad and sturdy side, at once began to bawl. God bless me, but the elephant is very much like a wall. The second, feeling of the tusk, cried, ho, what have we here? So very round and smooth and sharp, to me, is mighty clear. This wondrous of an elephant is very much like a spear. The third approached the animal, and happening to take, thus the squirming trunk within his hand, thus boldly up he spake. I see, quoth he, the elephant is very much like a snake. The fourth reached out an eager hand, and felt about the knee. What most his wondrous beast is like, is mighty plain, quoth he. 'Tis clear enough the elephant is very much like a tree. The fifth, who chanced to touch the ear, said, even the blindest man can tell what this resembles most, deny the fact who can. This marvel of an elephant is very much like a fan. The sixth no sooner had begun about the beast to grope, then seizing on the swinging tail that fell within his scope. I see, quoth he, the elephant is very much like a rope. And so these men of Indostan disputed loud and long, each in his own opinion exceeding stiff and strong, though each was partly in the right and all were in the wrong. Now, the moral of this poem, so oft in theological wars, the disputants, I ween, rail on in utterance ignorance of what each other mean, and prate about an elephant not one of them has ever seen. And this is what we even see in the medical profession, in the holistic profession, even in the natural health profession, period, or health in general. Is so many people are coming from different aspects of what they believe that's going to create health. All of them got their own technique or treatment that if you can just empty your pocketbooks for them, they can provide you or conveniently give you their substance that they can only make and only provide you with, their only treatment that is peculiar to them. But natural hygiene is way different. Natural hygiene is just the bare blocks. It takes away all the influences, all the different adulterated means and conditions that do not promote sound health. And we go back to natural nature. And we're going to show you how these different diets, because a lot of people are looking for the best nutrition plan for man, for them to not suffer the health issues that they're suffering from. And that we can pick up any magazine today, look at any newspaper. We can cut on the television and look at any advertisement, and we have so many different diets that are said to help us. We got the Atkins diet, we got the South Beach diet, we got the keto diet, and then we got those those detoxes like the ISO tea and all these other different means towards getting ourselves healthy. But let's look at the Atkins diet. The Atkins diet is a high protein diet that allows us to eat, become carnivores to so-called get healthy. We become, like tigers and lions in which for us to lose weight. And a lot of us don't realize that diet, even though the individual might lose weight on it, but to what extent? Damage to our livers, damage to our kidneys, because overconsumption of proteinaceous food create botulism, create acidosis in the body, or they're highly acidic. So the Atkins diet is a diet that it may help you lose weight, but it's going to create issues eventually in the body. So it's not ideal. And then we go to the South Beach diet, and we see that here it is. We're losing weight on all these diets, but the South Beach diet is one that is high in carbs that don't allow us to properly, and then it'd be the complex carbs that is telling us to eat to slowly break down and so-called make us full. So it's not fueling the body properly. So all these diseases, yeah, they appear to help you lose weight, but it's not properly I do apologize about that. I'm hoping that we have some you're able to hear us now. And we may have to still, well, we're going to catch up. I just have to kind of speed up a little more. I hope y'all can hear me. I do apologize about that. We had a little malfunction coming in there. But what we were talking about was these different diets that are out here, like this high fat diet or the keto diet, that's actually destroying and putting our body into ketosis to break itself down. It takes a lot of energy to deal with fat, and fat suppresses oxygen uptake in our body. It suppresses sugar uptake in our body. So it stops a lot of our being ability to oxygenate ourselves. So we tend to suffer issues from that diet as well. So it's not ideal that we use these diets, even though these diets are, appear to give us this weight loss that we're so-called seeking, but it's tearing our bodies down and producing premature issues, disease, and premature death in our body. So it's not worth it when there is a diet that is suitable for man, that is more ideal. And we're going to say that that diet is more of a vegan diet that promote the best health, don't poison the body, doesn't overwork the body, and doesn't destroy tissues and cells upon eating it. And we can eat it liberally, and it actually nourishes the body and helps repair the body. So we're going to talk more about this as we start talking about whole foods versus fragmented foods. A lot of the foods that we've been eating are we tend to don't eat foods in its whole state. We tend to eat foods that's been processed, foods that's been denatured, foods that have been fermented. We're going to even talk about fermented foods coming up real soon. But whole foods we get that hasn't been cooked, hasn't been changed in its nature. If you notice that animals don't process their food before eating it, you don't hear about the gorilla processing its food or having manufacturing plants, tigers not having denatured foods or refined foods, refining their foods and different things of that nature. They're eating it whole, untampered with, unadulterated, uncooked. So it's raw, and it's supplying them, because when you start putting heat or extracting different vitamins from food, you make the food, or you render the food useless. Let's think about when you cook the food, you're destroying the vitamins when you put heat to it. And then a lot of us, we boil our food, like we sit there and boil our vegetables, and all the vitamins and minerals is in the water. And we pour the water down the sink, and we eat the leftover, rubbish or food stuff that's in the, left, or this cardboard that's left from the cooking of the food. And we also see that, like I said, a lot of the vitamins and minerals escape in the air from the boiling of the food or cooking of the food. And we know enzymes are destroyed at 118 degrees, and most of all of our foods are cooked well over 118 degrees. So fragmented foods are not superior to whole food. All right. So we also want to look at the food for man. We're going to look at and see if we are carnivores, and we're going to look and see if are we herbivores, are we gramivores, and are we the real diet that we're going to talk about, that we're going to expose ourselves to real soon. But let's start off talking about, are we carnivores? All right. So we're going to determine our true dietary nature. Now, let's imagine that, we had an animal that we just got from a far off land. Let's say that we just, had somebody just drop us a animal off from Africa or somewhere, or Australia somewhere, and we don't know anything about that animal. And all we have to do to find out what that animal eats is just put a variety of different food stuff in front of him, and whatever is pleasing to his sight and pleasing to his smell and different things of that nature, he's going to go after. He's not going to eat something that is unnatural. He's going to eat the food that was designed for him just out of instinct. They have an instinct to eat the foods that are ideal and supportive of their growth and development. So this is really easy to be done. We can even put a child in a room with a banana and a chicken, and we're going to see which one the child eat, and we can see which one that he play with. We're not going to see him start biting and wringing the neck of a chicken and dipping him in flour and frying them up in some grease, or baking him in with some scallions and gravy in the oven for any time to call himself eating. And he's definitely not going to take it, raw, eating at, the bloody and the guts inside and any of that stuff. It's not going to be appealing to him. So nothing in our anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, or psychology indicate that we are carnivores. I want to go over a couple of things with you to show you that our body is not in the makeup of eating or being a carnivore. We're not carnivores. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But let's look at slaughterhouses. If I take any of y'all to a slaughterhouse, it's not going to make you want to eat the food or make you hungry. It's nothing about a slaughterhouse that makes you say, "Ooh, I got to have something to eat." Matter of fact, to be in a slaughterhouse might make you want to throw up. You smell of blood, watching animals' throats getting cut. You're seeing flies flying all over the place, like how you go to these seafood factories where these fishes with all this, flies and different things all over the place. That's nothing appealing about that. But we can go to any fruit stand or go to any field and just smell strawberries growing out on the ground, or be to a peach orchard, or an apple orchard, or go to a grape vineyard or anything like that, and it'll be pleasing to the smell. It won't be offensive. So it's things that will help us understand what is our true nature if we just pay attention a little bit. But humans versus carnivores. If you notice in walking, we have 2 hands and 2 feet, and we walk, erect. All of the carnivores have 4 feet and perform their locomotion using all 4s. That's how they get around, on all 4s. But we actually walk on 2 feet, and we have 2 hands. Now our tails, we don't have tails like true carnivores. True carnivores, they have tails. We don't have a long tail coming from us or anything. Now, even the tongues, even our tongues are smooth, where carnivores have these rasping, rough tongues, where they're even able to lap at water and use it. And that's another thing. That's the difference. We sip water. We don't lap at water. So that's a difference in us as well. And also, carnivores have, you'll say, claws in which to rip skin and tear at flesh, and pull at their animal, and where they can cut into it and start eating and eating at the bones and different things of that nature. We don't. We have this thing called the opposable thumb. If you notice our hand, we got this thumb that can come over and touch our pinky. All right, that's called the opposable thumb. So we can go out and pick and reach. We can go out and pick something off a tree really quick. So neither can a lion or tiger do what we're able to do. It can't go up to a peach tree and use its claws to pull off a fruit. And neither can we go out there with our little thin nail. Some of us got these little brittle thin nails. You ain't gonna have no woman out there digging into no skin and ripping into no skin with her nails. She done paid $100 and some for in Chinese place, sitting there all day on the weekend for it. She's not about to tend no animal flesh to eat no food. So that's not in our true dietary nature to be true carnivores. We're just not true carnivore. And if we even look at the births, we see humans usually have children one at a time. And if you notice, all carnivores, they have litters. Our colon is different too. They have carnivores have a convoluted colon, and we have well, our colons are convoluted with ripples in there where it can slow down food, where we can pull out all the vitamins and minerals out of the food and all the sugars out of the food. So it takes time to do that. But carnivorous animals, they don't need to have time when they're eating a bunch of flesh, because that flesh is rotting and can produce botulism and other problems in it. So it's going to slide through the colon real rapidly. Matter of fact, the intestinal length in carnivores are only 3 feet long, where ours is way more than that. It's about, I think, about 20 some feet long. And even mammary glands in humans are different than carnivores. We tend to only have two. You know, there's some ones they call freakish that tend to have, extra, mammary glands, but the average human has only two mammary glands, and carnivores, true carnivores, just about all carnivores got a bunch of them. All right. We also sleep less than carnivores. Most carnivores are, tired and sluggish from just eating flesh, that they tend to sleep up to 18 hours, where we're, sleeping about 8 to 10 hours at most, and we're getting proper rest. And we see another difference in humans versus carnivores. Humans, we tend to sweat from our body, perspire from different areas of the body, whereas carnivores only sweat from their tongue. All right, so that puts a big difference in us as well. All right, even the jaw movement in humans and carnivores are different. Our jaws move in a more of a grinding mode. All right, and whereas you'll say meat eaters have no lateral movement in their jaws. They have no lateral movement. That's what we have for where we can crush and grind into fruit. All right. Also, the pH balance of our stomach is not acidic, where starch and all can digest properly. Whereas carnivorous animals, their stomach is highly acidic with hydrochloric acid to deal with to break the proteins down. So they eat large amounts of proteins, and the average human, even eating protein, can only manage to tolerate 4 ounces. And we're not eating 4 ounces of meat. So when we're eating meat, those who are meat eaters, we're eating big 8 ounce, 10 ounce, 12 ounce steak, 16 ounce steak. I don't know if they get that big, but 16 ounce steak, and we have some other meats on the side as well. So we're overthrowing proteins in our body, and our body can't deal with that amount of protein. So guess what's going to happen to the rest of that protein? Yeah, you said it. It's going to rot or putrefy. And this rotting is going to create, bacterial growth and virulent growths. And this is what we're suffering from when we see these issues of disease that's coming out through our nose, that's coming out through our skin. And most of the times when we don't have the ability to throw off these excess of protein, because we don't have, first of all, this enzyme called uricase. Uricase we find in the bodies of carnivores. Humans don't have uricase in which to deal with the end product of these uric crystals. Uric crystals are the end product when we digest meat. When we eat meat, the meat breaks down, and the waste product behind that is called uric crystals, or this uric acid is left behind. Now, to neutralize that uric acid, your body have to pull from the bones calcium. So we're leaching out a lot of our calcium from our bones when we're overeating these protein food, or these meat food, or these animal flesh. We're wasting away our calcium. So our bones become weaker the more meat we eat. And it produces a different, you'll say, a calcium urate. It's a byproduct of even neutralizing the uric acids. And these uric acid, well, this calcium urate goes back into the bone and irritate the joints, irritates the bone. So we end up with diseases such as arthritis. We end up with gout. We end up with rheumatism. We end up with bursitis. All these different inflammations of the bones and joints and stuff from the uric crystals irritating them. So we know that you go to the doctor and he tell you got gout, tell you to stop eating red meat, right? So this is not something we're making up here. We're telling you what's producing this is the overconsumption of flesh and proteins that you're putting into your body. So we're telling you that it's really not designed for us, and this is why, because we don't have the enzyme to deal with all that extra. Now, let's go on to the next one. We see that we're not carnivores, so we can scratch out the carnivore diet. We are we herbivores? Now, most people would say, yeah, we can eat vegetables, we can eat different lettuces and different things of that nature. So in a sense, we are, yes, and then no, because we can't just sit there and eat an abundance of leafy lettuce, celery, and spinach, and sustain ourselves on grass. We're not cows, in other words. We can't just sustain ourselves and sit there and eat fodder all day. You know, we got to be able to. We burn too much calories. Where the cow, you don't see him running around all day. He's just sitting there or standing there, just chewing, and he can. That's his diet. But our diet is, well, her diet. But we have to have more sugar. We have to have more vitamins and different things. And the only way we can get that is from a whole nother diet. It's not going to be the herbivore diet. It's nothing in going into the wilderness and looking at grass is appealing to us. We don't just ride down the mountainside and say, ooh, look at that grass. Ooh, look at that wheat. Oh, look at that oats. You know, those are not appealing to us. It doesn't, you know, it's not pleasing to our smell. It's not pleasing to our taste buds just by itself as much as the ideal diet that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. So we got to go back to eating in such a way that is more ideal for our health. So are we herbivores? Yes and no. So it's ideal to incorporate some vegetables into our diet and eat, green leafy stuff, celery, spinach, and other tender leaves. But it's not something that we can sustain a healthy life where we can grow and develop on herbs alone. All right. And we're going to talk about that in just a little while. But let's even talk about starch. Too much starch in our diet where we're eating grains, we're eating starchy roots and tubulars, because a lot of us tend to eat more potatoes and legumes and different things of that nature. But we don't have, the animals that grow for roots and tubers are designed for the task. They have snouts. Humans do not. So we don't have tools to be diggers. So it wasn't designed for us to dig into the ground for our food. And most of that food that grows on the ground doesn't get sun exposure. So it's not as healthy as the food that grows above the ground. So that's not ideal for humans as well. So we want to talk more. And then grains and seeds, they got enzyme inhibitors in them. They are not ideal for human consumption because they're for growing, to grow more of the plant for whatever animal need to eat that plant. But it's not ideal for human, because those enzymes they are inhibitors, meaning that they inhibit the food from being broken down. That's why it can be stored. That's why you see grains can last for a long time, because there's no, they are stripped. The enzymes are not active, in other words. But when the conditions come around, it releases the inhibitor and make the enzymes active where it can start growth. All right. And let's look at fermented foods. We're going to look at fermented foods. Fermentation of foods is not ideal either. Matter of fact, we tend to don't want to eat food. Fermented is a fancy name we're using right here. But if we go back to what fermentation is, just rotting, decomposing, putrefying. It's allowing stuff to spoil, in other words. So fermented foods is spoiled food if we put the right term to it. Now, these are a lot of the stuff that we're eating, like in the form of tofu. We're eating these pea proteins and all the soy stuff. All of these fermented, this quinoa and kimchi. What are all those different foods that are considered to be health food, fermented food, but it's actually spoiled food, and that's not ideal for the human body. Our food don't need to be spoiled for us to uptake it. We can't make use of rotted food. We want to eat our food right, sure indeed, but not rotten. All right. So carbohydrates, they ferment when fungi or bacteria decompose them. So fermented carbohydrates, they produce alcohol, acetic acid, and lactic acid, as well as methane and carbon dioxide. So it's not ideal to eat these foods. And, I put a post on the other day where I asked people, do you tend to overeat carbs and wake up the next day feeling like you've been drinking all night? So you have this intoxication because fermentation, you ferment grapes and different other vegetables to produce liquors and wines and different things of that nature. So if you're eating these foods and they're fermenting inside of you, you're getting the same effect as if you are just a liquor still. We had a question up there. If you can bring that question back up where we can answer that question. I know we don't have much time left, but we're going to wrap this up real soon. If you can bring that question back up, and hey, Miss Margot, how you doing today? They said, why is it that it seems that the root veggies is something humans tend to crave? It's because we're not eating enough fresh fruits and vegetables, because if we don't eat sugars in a simpler form, we're going to overdo it with like some complex carbs. We crave sugar, period. Sugar in the form of fruits are you'll say monosaccharides. They're simple one chain sugars. But complex sugars that you find in these root vegetables, they're like 3-chain sugars. They like trisaccharides, or 2-chain sugars, disaccharides. But they're more complex and more require more energy to digest. And so we're craving them because we're not eating enough of the fruits that is going to supply us and satisfy us with the amount of sugar we need for our body. So if we eat a predominantly diet of fresh, wholesome fruits in the normal state, it will supply our body and stop the craving. There won't be no cravings because we're just craving for sugar. So if you eat a lot of fresh fruits, then it will satisfy that sugar craving. Now, also, we talked about proteins. When you allow proteins to rot, they putrefy when they decompose. Now, compose is pretty much by bacteria or fungi like yeast and some other type of bacteria and proteins. They produce an end product called tomains, indoles, scadols, ammonia, methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other toxic compounds that are being released in our body when they're being broken down. Notice that when you put a piece of meat in a bag, you don't have to do anything. As it rots in that bag, you're going to have gases and all type. That bag going to be bloated. It's going to be puffed up because of all the gases that's being released. You're going to have all this bacterial growth growing on in there, and it's going to be releasing poison. So imagine if this going on in our body when it's not properly digested, when we overconsume, eating more than 4 ounces of meat at one time. That means that whatever we're doing over is going to sit there and rot, and our body have to deal with it. They have to neutralize it and get it out. If we don't have the energy to do that, our body stores it inside. And that's where we start having the more chronic issue. And then also fats. And that's why we were talking about these fragmented foods that we've been eating. If you're only eating carbohydrates like you get on that South Beach diet, you're going to be in trouble with fermentation. If you're only eating protein, you're going to be from that Atkins diet, you're going to be in trouble because you're going to be overdoing it. And when you do the keto diet, which is the fats, they become rancid and repulsive when they oxidize and decompose. And like I said, they also, suppress oxygen from being uptake. Matter of fact, fats coats all type of things in your blood, and fat just coats everything. That's why when you put you cook rice, you put a little oil in there to make every grain fall grain for grain. And the reason it does so is because the oil coats all of it and stops it from sticking together. Now imagine if, and fat takes hours and hours to digest. So if anything is eaten with the fat, or fat goes into the blood, it's going to coat and sit there for hours and hours. Now imagine if the sugar was in the blood, and the sugar can't stay in the blood long, or you're going to suffer, this thing called high blood sugar, diabetes, if it stays there too long. But if it's trapped, or coated with this fat, the insulin can't get to it. So it's going to be left into the blood for quite a long time. And that's why a lot of us suffer from these high blood sugar issues, because our diets are high in fat. The average soul food, and in our community, we're eating in abundantly our foods high in fat and sugar, and that's why we're suffering from those diseases that are peculiar to a high fat diet, which are blood issues such as high blood sugar. So we want to get away from those type of fermented foods, or foods that putrefy and don't allow our food to putrefy. We also, like I said, we want to stay away from nuts and seeds. That's more or less for the birds, the nuts and seeds, because we talked about that a little bit earlier, where we don't have the enzyme inhibitors to break down these nuts and seeds, and they're high in fat. Nuts and seeds are predominantly high in fat and protein as well. So if we are to eat those, we can eat those in moderation. Hey, how you doing, Val? Is Beyond Meat or vegetarian good for you? Beyond Meat is not. That's where you're going to be going back to the fermentation and unnatural processed stuff. The body can't make use of this unnatural processed stuff. Beyond Meat has a bunch of pea protein in there, and a bunch of other fillers and unnatural means of preservatives and additives in there. So the body can't make use of any of that. I wouldn't think it's good if you're a vegetarian, if you just don't want to eat animals, if you care about animals. But if you care about yourself and animals, it'd be more ideal that you eat fresh fruits and vegetables. Beyond Meat is just going to help save animals, but it's going to cause disease in us if we consume them. So I would ask you to stay away from that now. Thank you for being up here and supporting us. So we got to get away from the high fat, because most of the nuts and seeds that we're eating, and then a lot of time we're not eating the raw nuts and seeds. We're eating them after they've been salted, roasted, and cooked some other and processed some other way. And we also combine them with other foods that make them just as toxic. Now, certain ones we can eat in moderation and eat them in the right combination and eat them just sparingly, such as, pecans, Brazilian nuts, pine nuts. You got Brazilian nuts, and a couple of other nuts that the cashew is not truly a nut. And most times they still have to heat it up to get it out, so it's still not ideal. So you want to eat those in moderation, where they're not causing too much issues to us. Now, also, let's look at, are we omnivores? Because we don't have that much time here, and we still haven't talked about the ideal diet yet, and we only got 16 minutes left. And I just want to thank all those. We want to thank ATR Media for all they're doing to help produce these wonderful platforms where we can share great information out into our community. So we want you to go to them, like them, share and support as much as you can. Share our show. Go look us up, Savannah Natural Health. Go on and look up. We have books available, information available on how to correct your health issues, a more natural approach to it. If you like our shows and the information that we're doing, we're asking you to support it by learning it and allowing it to show in your life where you can be a walking testimony as well with this new health and vibrance. We got another question before we go on to, are we omnivores? They say, I am a pecan fool. Pecan pie, pecan ice cream, whole pecans. True indeed. But too much pecans are harmful, but not just the pecan. When you alter the pecans into the pies and the other stuff, you just eating for cosmetic then. You know, that's even with peaches and plum and apple. When we make apple pie or peach cobbler, the peaches are no longer good, because when I tell certain people, hey, I'm gonna put you on a peach diet, I'm gonna put you on a fruit diet. Oh, so I can have peach cobbler and I can have, no, that's not it. We even have some people when we tell them, hey, I need you to eat more salads. So you mean I can make this macaroni salad? I can make the seafood salad? No, that's not a true salad. As a matter of fact, we're gonna have a show to help you understand the truth behind how to properly make salads and why salads are very important for our health. So stay tuned with that. And next week, we actually got a show not more on nutrition, but it's going to be on helping us get over automatic negative thoughts. Remember, it's not just food alone that produce health. We got to make sure that our emotions and our thought patterns are ideal. So we're going to look at dealing with depression, and we're going to look at bonding and love, and the areas in our brain that we can keep healthy, where we can, be able to overcome depression. We'll give you some techniques on how to stop automatic negative thoughts. We call them ants, according to the Amen research. And we're going to teach you how to, create more loving issues in your life to get away from getting stuck on situations, create flexibility into your life, cognitive flexibility, be able to shift from one thought to another without getting caught up and suffering from depression for long periods of time, being able to overcome. So make sure you tune in to that show next week and tell someone that may benefit from our show. And we thank you again for all the support. But let's move on. Are we hogs and pigs? This is the are we omnivores, in other words, eating everything and anything we can put our hand on. Now, of course, in practice, we are omnivores with the aid of cook stove, condiments, taste, excitants, camouflaging, seasonings, spices, and so on. But in nature, we could not do more than eat foods in season. If we eat according to nature, we will only be able to eat foods in season. We couldn't have, with this new way of shipping, we tend to get foods out of season now, but it don't tend to taste good. And furthermore, we tend to don't desire it when it's out of season. We tend to have had enough in that season, and by the time we eat it, if you eat it in that season, you will have enough. You'll be tired of the apple in apple season. You'll be tired of the oranges in orange season. You'll be tired of watermelon if you eat enough of it when it's in season. But if you're not eating enough, yeah, you can probably eat it all year long. But it's not ideal because it's not being grown by nature in our area all day long. So it doesn't have that taste. So they have to ship this stuff off unripe, and it doesn't really get the true benefits that it needs. So without tools and technology and packaging and canning and stuff like that, we wouldn't be able to just keep a lot of these foods that we have on hand, and we would be subject to eating more fresh fruits in season, and we would see our health soar through the roof. Like I said, there's really nothing in this that tells us that we are, omnivore. And let's look at it through a little more through ethics and psychology. Ethics is defined as the observance of right and wrong according to a specific value system. Now, the vegetarian and fruitarian diet is incompatible with the slaughter of animals. A society that thinks nothing of exploiting and killing animals for food or otherwise is likely to think nothing of exploiting and killing humans for glorified reasons as well. The vegetarian fruitarian diet supports the well-being of humankind. Staying from this diet has caused a gradual degeneration and devolution of the human race, physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually. Meat eating is a decadent economic practice that is contributing to worldwide starvation. The amount of farmland that we're raising food on to feed, we're growing a bunch of wheat, we're growing a bunch of corn, we're growing, a bunch of oats and stuff just to feed to the hogs, just to feed to the cow, just to feed to, the other animals that we're raising for food. And here it is, we can't even produce enough of that to supply the world hunger. And here it is, the amount of food that we're feeding them can feed every man, woman, and child on earth with at least 2 to 3 loaves of bread daily, that no one have to die of hunger. I mean, and have some left over. It'd be like when Jesus was feeding the people the bread and fish. He had some he picked up and had some left over. So we're actually giving the animals our food just to get just a pound of bacon just for some of us to eat meat. But if we use our land to grow fresh fruits and vegetables, we have enough that we would eradicate hunger from off the planet. So there's ethics in letting go of the carnivorous diet and going into a more fruitarian diet. We're frugivores by nature, fruits and tender leaves. If we go to Genesis 1:29, we'll get the ideal diet for mankind. Those who are Christians, those who are not Christians, mostly everybody still believe in the book. Even Muslims, they cherish the Bible as being the book as well. And most other religions still look at the Bible as being, a word of God or has a profound message in it. And we see that the first diet in the Bible, in the first chapter, in the first book, in 129, it tells us that, anything that has a seed within itself, and, tender leaves, those shall be for you for meat. So what shall be for you for meat? Your meat is the flesh of the what? The fruit. A lot of times we don't even want to call what we're eating when we're eating meat what it is. We don't say I want the spinal cord of a cow. We call it T-bone. We tend to don't even call it I want cow. We say we want beef. We don't say I want a hog or a pig. I want pork. We tend to change the name. We call it veal because it's in our mindset. It's not pleasing when we hear, I want to eat the entrails. And not only do we call a steak, we have a steak, even though we may say, we won't say I want blood and lymph fluid, oozing out of my steak. You're going to say, I just want a juicy steak. So it's just even the terminology we don't even like to use because it's not appealing. So we got to deal with the natural senses. They confirm that the ideal diet is a fruitarian diet. It's pleasing to the taste, it's pleasing to the smell, and it's pleasing to the eyes. Now, you determine which one is more ideal for us. Keep in mind that our mental matches our physiological. We can, however, relish fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds in a raw, ripe state. We can't do that with, all the other foods. We have to soak them. We have to boil them. We have to season them. We have to put them with other foods just to make use of them. Like I said, with even these remedies and all these different type of things that, like, I was talking to one of my clients today that was talking about, and I know a lot of people might be upset when I say this because some people, they put their trust in these remedies and they even some make money from them. So for me to say what I'm about to say may offend somebody, and I promise I wish not to offend, but I just want to encourage you to hear the information and you decide if it makes sense to you. But those things that we tend to utilize, we can't eat them. We don't see them as food, like sea moss and different things of that nature. You knew that was coming, right? Because that's the thing in vogue right now. That's what we're being told is a cure all to everything. Just take some sea moss. Sea moss is going to do it. So we tend to put our trust in it, and we're going to that as if that's food. Now, what could sea moss do that lettuce and cucumbers can't do? What properties that the sea moss got that bell peppers and some other fruit or vegetable can't do, because they're jam packed with vitamins and minerals, but without the poison. But see, here it is. The reason why we don't eat the sea moss is because, yeah, it got some vitamins and minerals in it. Yeah, it got a bunch of these so-called vitamins in it, but it has poisons in there that should not be, is not ideal for usage. Just like tobacco. Tobacco got poisons in it that, even though it got vitamins and minerals in it, and it's a plant, why can't we eat that? Why can't we eat the belladonna plant? Why we can't eat poison ivy or poison oak? So it's vegetables out there or plant stuff that's still not ideal for human consumption. So it's ideal that we learn how to eat the ideal food for us. And like I said, we're fruitarian by nature. And then if you think about it, our fruit come in proportion. You don't have no waste. If you sit there and kill a cow, the cow have to be eaten all at once, unless you go putting it in the freezer, but it's still rotten and it's decomposing moment by moment. And some of us, I guess, we like the rotting. They let it sit up for years with some salt on there, and the more it rot, the more perversion the taste buds. But it has no beneficial value to be put into the human body, whereas an apple, eaten in a natural state. And remember, I said a natural state. We can't be eating these foods that have, that's pretty much being cut up in the grocery store and just sitting out there all day. As soon as you cut into your fruits and vegetables, they start oxidizing. They start losing their value. Their vitamin counts start escaping out of it. So just like if you cut an apple at home and start turning brown, by the time you go upstairs and come back down, you open up a banana, if you don't start chewing on it too quick, you'll see it turn brown. As soon as you break into the fruit, you're going to notice that it start losing, excuse me, it start losing its food value. So it's ideal that's why I told you fragmented foods is not ideal. You want to eat it whole, fresh. That's the ideal. Animals, look at them, they get it straight off the tree and they get them right. They go up to the tree and go and pull their food off. The monkeys be running through there and they only eat them. They sit and wait, what I'm saying, for, the season to come for certain fruits to ripen up. And they'll come in and strip them trees clean when the time comes. And so, such as other vegetarian animals. And notice that even true carnivores are not true carnivores at best. They still have to supplement their diet with fresh, vegetation and fruits and stuff like that, and berries and all. Whereas vegetarian animals never have to supplement their diet. A diet that is adequate, full of vitamins and minerals, need no supplementation. That shows you that the carnivorous diet or the high protein diet or the meat diet is a diet that is deficient in vitamins and minerals. Because, like I say again, all animals must still indulge in eating plant life. They can't just subsist only on a meat diet. They have to supplement their diet with some vegetation. But a vegan animal or vegetarian animal don't have to supplement their diet with a little meat every so often. So this is humans as well. And we hear it out of the mouth of God in Genesis 1:29, the meat that is ideal for us, which is fresh fruits and vegetables. And if you study the diets of the Bible, you'll see that even Daniel and a lot of people are doing the Daniel fast now, and it was a meatless diet, and he fared good, and all the people who followed him fared good without eating the meats, and they were just eating more fruits and vegetables and drinking only water, clean water. They wasn't drinking the sodas, teas, and wines of the king or anything like that. So we want to promote the best health possible. And we want to encourage you to live your true diet of a fruitarian diet and learn to love it. We want to thank you for listening. We want to see you next week and get ready for the Alicia Blakely Show. Best of health and happiness. Until next week.